TOA Fit Body Bootcamp and Fit Body Forever communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Robert Linkul with TrainingTheOlderAdult.com. I'm excited to be here today to chat with you all about one of my favorite topics. It's really no surprise at this point how much I love grip strength training, and using our dynamometers to measure our clients' grip strength, all the different training tools. I'm going to show you all kinds of cool stuff on this, but really why this is such a important piece of our fitness is that you can do something so simple as having somebody squeeze this little trigger over here, right? This little gripper, and it's going to give you so much information that we can use as a predictor of health concerns moving forward, either high risk, low risk, but also as a overall general assessment of one's strength and muscular endurance to an extent. You can pre-test them with this score. We can train for a period of time, 12 weeks, let's say, and then retest them, and you can see, did our programming work, or and so thus, this is a simple and easy measurable tool. And then you throw in something like an in-body scan, okay, which we'll dive into this in a second. A combination of these two, which I'm going to show you a way to do that, really gives you a good idea of where you are health quality wise and mortality risk wise in your overall pursuit of good health and longevity, okay? So first, let's dive into this article here. This is from the Cleveland Clinic. I wanted to show you exactly where I got this. These are all cited down below. But in this article on the Cleveland Clinic, they are going to describe and go through quite a bit of information on grip strength. And to find that, you have to know to understand that, you have to understand and know what your scores are, okay? So I wanted to go through that first, and let's give a reasonable idea of what that means to have a good grip score, etc. For the average individual, female, age 30, she's going to squeeze about 59 pounds of pressure. The average male is going to squeeze about 97 pounds of pressure. I've got some kilo converters for all of you out there. Basically, your 59 is 27 kilos and 97 is 44 kilos, okay? So if I am squeezing those grips, I am at an 83% if I'm not squeezing those numbers, I'm at an 83% greater risk of mortality and a 53% greater risk of a disability simply by squeezing these. Now, these are correlations. These are not causations, meaning if my score is this low, that means this is going to happen. These are all just predictive measures, so don't worry too much. And if, let's say, you're a plumber or a construction worker and your BMI is a very unhealthy 40 and you've got amazing grip strength, it doesn't mean that you're going to live forever. Like that's one of the bell curve issues of this is you're going to have some people that are super, super fit and have these amazing scores, and then you're going to have other people that are not so fit and have the exact same score. And that just simply means that they utilize their hands and train their grip strength more than anything else. They just sit and squeeze and grip and crush. So you get what I'm saying. This is an average. I couldn't find one of these for the ladies, but for the gents out there, this kind of shows this average decline as we go down here. And these color coordinations, this is for those that train a little bit versus the ones that do not train. So you can see in levels of intensity, how often are you exercising, if you're doing more, etc. This blue line, you're going to have this slower decline and the scores are going to be quite a bit higher. So it does behoove you to have a good grip strength and to be active your entire life. All right. Okay, we want to get into this here. I am going to use myself as a demonstration. So we're going to turn this guy on. And there are a couple different positions that you can do your grip strength testing from. The first one is down at your side, just squeezing down at your grip angle. Other one is out in front, a little squeeze here. So we'll give this a roll, see how we do, and get you some scores. All right, here we come. 3, 2, 1, squeeze, and 142.8. So we'll write that down, and then let's do the left. 137.8. All right, so 142 and 137. I'm going to throw that down on here really quick. 142, 137. Our goal when we do a grip strength test ultimately is that between the two grips, you are within 7 to 10 pounds. If it's greater than 7 to 10 pounds, then you're going to say we have a little bit of an asymmetry and that we should try to pursue increasing grip strength of the weaker hand. Try to get it closer to that 7 to 10 pound gap, if not less, and then gradually grow our grip strengths together. So I am 43, almost 44 years old. So I'm going to look at that bracket there, 40, and I want to be greater than, to be in the top 10%, 136.4. So I made that just barely on my left hand, and I made 142, I made it on my right hand. So I'm just squeaked in to that top 10%, right? So let's continue this as we work our way down. We are going to convert to kilos. So we're doing this on purpose. 142 divided by 2.2 is 64. We'll round up to 65 kilos. 65 kilos. And then 137 divided by 2.2 is 63 kilos. All right, because we're going to need that number here in just a moment. We see our number correlation. We're still obviously in our 10%. All right, so here's the grip to BMI ratio and the health risks that go with this. You want to divide your grip strength in kilos divided by your BMI. What is your BMI? Well, if you do a in-body scan like I did here, I got one of these guys done up. In the in-body scan, it goes through and it does your dry lean mass, your body fat mass. It gives your overall weight, your skeletal muscle mass, body fat mass, BMI score, your percentage of body fat, etc. It does breakdowns for right, left arm, trunk, all the way down, gives you some good statistical information so I know where I am now at a start, and then 12 weeks from now where I'll be. Right now, I weigh 256 pounds. I have a BMI of 32, which, mind you, is morbidly obese or pretty damn obese in the scales of the BMI chart. And then my body fat percentage is 20, okay? So I'm gonna take the 32, we're gonna start with our, divide your grip strength in kilos by your body weight. So my grip strength is 65 kilos divided by 32 on my BMI, and I'm a 2.03 is my score on my right hand. So we'll average that out. I'm gonna say a 2.03. Okay, and just for the giggles, let's get the other one done. 63 divided by 32 is 1.96. So I guess we could round that up to 2.0, but we'll go with 1.96. All right, so we look at our score again here. All right, for the guys on the left, 40. I want to be greater than 1.45, which I am on both. If you are less than, there is a much higher risk of mortality and of stroke. If I am greater than, which in this case I am, I have a 33% lower risk of death, which just means like we're all going to perish at some point, right? What that means is in terms of longevity, I have a 33% increase in having prolonged longevity, better quality of life, longer quality of life, and a longer life period than the average, American that is, again, these statistics are all a little questionable wherever you get them. On average, the average American right now is living to be now 74 years old, where ladies, it's like 77 or something like that, and guys, it's 71. So we're kind of right around in that 74 average, right? So if my goal or my intention is I want to live to the average, well, I have a 33% greater risk of living longer than that now because of this, because my grip strength is good, and a 27% lower risk of having a stroke, which is great. For the ladies, if I were 40, it would be 0.90, okay? And again, those correlated scales that we go. So just so you can have this information, all the ladies on here, if you want to go ahead and get a screen grab of this really quick, I have referenced the articles, by the way, in the details below, so you can feel free to click on that link and you'll be able to find all these. And then here is your kilo chart as well. I wanted to make sure I provided all of these to you. So the goal now is, now that I have these numbers, the goal is now to train for 12 weeks. I will come back and retest and we'll see. Let's say I'm able to decrease my body fat down and I come back weighing 240. So I lose 15, 16 pounds of body fat and I squeeze the exact same score. That would be fantastic because my BMI would be lower. My grip score would be the same, but because my BMI has decreased, I would have a greater correlation here for these scales is what we're looking at. All right, everybody follow me there? Okay, so now you know how to get your squeeze. You need a dynamometer or a scale. I'll show you how to do it with a scale. Dana Santos has an article here I'm going to reference in just a moment. We'll teach you how to do that too. But really what we're looking for in this whole thing is the biomarker component of your grip strength, and in longevity wise, not only everything else we talked about, mortality risks and stroke, etc., you have this natural decline where we see right around the age 50, as he talks about here, where you're going to start to see simply the strength in which you can grip hands decrease, your dexterity, your pliability of your hands, and the quality of your hand health is going to start to decrease right around 50. 50 years of wear and tear and abuse under your hands, your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, all of that kind of comes up. So we're talking carpal tunnel syndrome, neuropathy, anything else that's going to come into the amount of abuse and damage you put into your hands. All this stuff, arthritis, osteoarthritis, etc. All this is going to start to kind of come to a head-ish, or just raise its head, I should say, around 50. Because we're going to attempt to keep good, high-quality health in not only our grip, but in our overall body, ideally, we should be able to ward off a lot of these issues. As there are these arthritic grace periods, neuropathy grace periods, all these grace periods where if you continue to stay active, to do pliable, dexterous little detaily things, your body will keep the ability to do that. So the longer you keep doing that stuff, the better. Really never stop is the goal with this. How grip strength is related, okay, again, we talked about this. Here are the average scores. Now, this is for people over the age of 50. These squeezes, the 57 and the 35, that's over 50. Remember the one I showed you earlier, it was like 97 and 56 or whatever it was. That was for 30 or 20 to 30-year-olds. So just kind of keep that in mind when you see some of these numbers in here that are a little bit different. Muscular strength, mobility, etc. Again, these are your correlations as predictor for sarcopenia. If you're losing strength in your hands and arms and therefore have a weaker grip, is an indicator that's happening all over your body. And that is very, very true. This doctor absolutely crushes it with that comment. Completely true. Moving our way down this one. Immune health issues as well. Poor grip strength is correlated with a weak immunity. So something to consider there if you're having any exposure to, as we all do, flu and any other viruses and COVID and etc. Your stronger grip strength, higher scores of everything we just kind of went with is showing your body's ability to be stronger, period. That's going to go for immunity components as well. Again, speaking out of school, I have no area of expertise in this by any means, but just looking at the correlations as they go across, you're at a higher risk of fighting those things off either easier or not getting them in the first place if your body is stronger overall. Chronic disease risk. Higher grip strengths give you less potential opportunities for diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and number one is your coronary pulmonary disease, so COPDs. These are big ones. Want to make sure they're health-wise too, mental health-wise as well. Your cognitive impairments, so slower processing and or depression, problems sleeping, and all the way up through the more severe cognitive issues of Alzheimer's and dementia, etc. The more active, the more healthy, the more able, the less body fat, the more muscle mass you keep on your frame, on your body, the less likely you are to have all of these things. There's a very high correlation too between from poor sleeping and poor sleeping habits, okay, and dementia. meaning that if you're not giving your brain enough time to rest and recover and get to some of the deeper levels of sleep, there is a correlation that shows earlier onsets of dementia or mental decline, cognitive decline is present. So sleep and recovery is super important. Make sure you're allowing yourself time for that. And then longevity, again, this is probably the trend word of the 2020s is longevity. Dr. Peter Attia, and Lane Norton, and Huberman, and Gabrielle Lyon, and all the docs out there, Andy Galpin, all of them are really helping push this narrative of longevity. I totally agree and could not, encourage people more to do everything and anything they can to improve their quality of health, to improve their longevity. A great way to screen that, obviously, is with this. All right. Exercises for grip, we're going to dive into a bunch of that here in just a minute. That's where Dana's article is going to come in here, and he just kind of talks about some general exercises you can do, coordination and hand grippers and all that other good stuff. And then just general ways of keeping your body in relatively good strong. Notice walking, number one, right? Other than resistance training being the top thing that you should be doing. Walking right there. Do not stop walking. I don't care if you have a bad hip, a bad knee, a bad back, or whatever. If you can walk, walk. Walking is so underrated that because it's just the simple thing that gets us from place to place, people don't look at that and go, well, this is a vehicle for me to have better health as well. It really is. It's very low impact, but still has some impact. It's practicing the skill set that you're going to need to keep you capable, you're in mobile and doing whatever it is you want to do in life. Practice it on a daily basis so you can stay really good at it, which means keeping a longer gait, a more stable gait, and keeping your body's ability to maintain a more upright posture while you move through that gait is super important. So if we continue to practice that, these practice skill sets will not decline as much, okay? Not as much as if we don't. Meaning, I got a bum knee, I'm just gonna sit. If you're sitting all the time, you're gonna lose your ability to walk, stand, coordinate, move, hinge, pick up things off the ground, etc. That's where that decline in that ability meets opportunity to fall down and broken hip, broken back, shattered forearm, whatever it is that comes up. Now we have a catastrophic injury to go along with your decline in ability in the first place. How well do you think you're going to recover from that? Eating well, getting enough protein, super important up here. Good job, Doc. Get enough protein, very important as we age too. And for some reason, again, statistically speaking, as we age, we get less and less protein into our diet, more carbohydrate and fat heavy focused diets. So really it needs to be the other way around. We need to make sure we're maintaining and ingesting enough protein to help us maintain our lean muscle mass and our bone health. In that, you'll see a lot of like Ensures and a lot of these other drinks that kind of bring calcium and vitamin C, and they have, high protein in it. That's great. That's good too. Would I rather you get this from a more natural, more health conscious, I will say, way? Yes, by eating your meats and or your higher protein vegetables and legumes, whatever else, whatever other venue that you have, whatever option, other vehicle you have to be able to get protein into your diet. I would rather you do that than go to those pre-mixed, like pre-surgical, I will say, drinks that also they basically give to really aging bodies that are like, we just need a one-stop shop drink that's going to give us a little bit of everything. And that's what they are. They're high in protein, but they're also rather high in fat. And they usually have some sugar in them. So you're higher in carbohydrates to make them taste better, which is fine, right? You need all that stuff as you go. But would I rather you have a really nice, cut of meat or yes, absolutely. Would I rather you do a whey or an oat or a whatever, protein supplement shake? Yeah, I'd rather you do that probably too. And just get it all from more ingestible, higher quality foods, I would say, than just a drink. Exercise, bike, swimming, fine yoga, and chair yoga. If you have to, like if you're not able to stand up, fine, do chair yoga, do chair exercises. But if you can stand. You have to stand up. You got to stay on your feet. Lifting weights. Why is that fifth on the list? That should be all the way at the very top. Stretching, fine. Dancing, good. Gardening, yes. I would reorder this. I would go strength training, lifting weights. I would have walking, and then I would have gardening. I think those 1, 2, 3 I think those things give you the importance and value of gardening is super, super high. You're up and down off the ground a lot. You're in these hinge positions, you're rowing a lot, you're transferring, carrying, you're active, you're outside, you're having fun, you're in good fresh air. Hopefully it's cognitively stimulus with people that you're engaging with. Lots of dexterity and hand health involved. There's so much more there than I'm gonna go take a 30-minute aerobics class in the water where you're 1/8 your body weight and there's hardly any resistance. If you're rehabilitating a torn oblique or a rotator cuff injury, fine, get in the water, swim around, use that. As soon as you're healthy and capable, I'd rather you get out and garden for 45 minutes than go do your aerobics class, to be honest with you. You get a hell of a lot more out of that and a greater value, much greater return, in my opinion. All right, let's dive into this here. This is Dana Santos. If you don't know who Dana is, very good speaker, has written a couple of books, podcasts, etc. She's pretty great. Some of these I'm going to say are really good. Others a little questionable. I'll give my advice on what we could do a little bit better and whatnot. She talks right away into this. Yeah, mobility maker. There you go. She talks about this right away in the value of having a good grip strength and having this as the biomarker, but also our longevity and keeping, the stronger grip strength as she maintains a healthier hand and wrist and elbow value, which is pretty damn important for us as we age, especially if we're going to get to the point where we start to have some other limitations in our life, meaning our knees, our hips, our back. The value of our hands and arms, it becomes greater and greater because it helps us get up and down from chairs or awkward angles. And then if you ever start to use a cane or a walker or crutches, if you ever have an injury, like that upper body strength is super important. So that's another thing we don't want to lose. Like, well, I train my legs because, Rob says that's what gets us around in this world. I got to make sure my legs are strong. Yes, but this is where the full body approach is really important as well. Okay, what makes up a good grip strength? The crushing strength, how long you can squeeze and grip things, right? Or just one bout effort. And then you have supporting grip strength, which is basically how long you can hold on to something or how long you can hang from something. And then you have your pinching grip strengths that are going to be valuable there. Assessing your grip. If you don't have a dynamometer, which these are $20 to $50, I would say, and you can get them on Amazon, etc. There are much higher quality ones of these, and they are, very expensive, hundreds, if not $1,000 or more, depending on how accurate you want this scale to be. But you can, as she puts on here, you can use your scale and inside, your body weight scale. So pretend this is the scale I would stand on. You would pick it up, turn it on, and you would squeeze, and you're looking at the numbers, right? As you're squeezing it, and you're like, okay, I squeezed, 70 pounds. Well, at least it gives you, as you watch it, at least it gives you an idea of where your score is. You can mark that down, and then in 12 weeks, go grab the body weight scale again, and then squeeze it. It'll give you, okay, I'm now at 80. Cool, we have this great improvement. Is that exactly what your grip strength is? No, but how hard can I squeeze this scale? It gives you a number. So that's great. The tennis ball one, I don't see a whole lot of value in this one because it says in here, go ahead and squeeze it. And number one, squeeze for 5 seconds and then rest 30 seconds between the next attempt and do that 3 times in each hand. So you're going to squeeze 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I have to wait 30 seconds. I don't understand that. But also, this is a test that gives you a rough estimate of your grip strength. How? Like, can you completely flatten the tennis ball or not? See what I'm saying? Like, there's not a lot of validity to this to show as a training tool. Fine. Use the tennis ball, squeeze it. I think you could do 10 to 15 squeezes and hold maybe 1 to 2 seconds. Squeeze, relax. I would do 10 to 15 of those. Then I would rest 30 seconds, and then I would do that again. This is pretty low level, the 3 seconds or the 5 seconds, and then 3 times with 30 seconds rest in between. Just a little slow. All right. Exercising your grip strength. This is some of these I thought good, others. Number 1, the dowel rod roll. So I'll use my chapstick here imagine this a dowel rod, right? What she's saying is just do this, right? You're rotating the dowel rod this way. Without any weight on it, that's not going to do a whole lot for you. you're probably going to feel more burn in your shoulders from just holding your arms out in front of you than anything else. The best way to do that is to get your dowel rod. Okay, like everybody know what a dowel rod is? Like a wooden stick, the thing hanging in your closet that you put all your hangers on, that's a dowel rod. So go to the store, buy one of those. They're like $4. Get a drill, really small drill bit, drill right in the center of it. Drill a hole big enough to get a rope through there, a little 550 cordage would be fine. Tie that 550 cordage to it, and then let it go down to whatever height you are. If you put your arms out in front of you here, holding that dowel rod, let the string hit the floor. And then put a little loop on it and a carabiner. Now you can loop that around any weight that you want. A 5-pound dumbbell, carabiner to itself, and then holding your arms out in front of you. Now, when you do your little, now when you do this guy and you're gonna reel, the rope is gonna gather in the middle, right? And you're gonna reel the weight up. And once you have it all the way up, now you gotta bring it back down and you're gonna lower it back down to the floor. Talk about a burn. That's gonna give you a great, not also give you a great shoulder burn, but that's gonna give you a great forearm pump. And it's a lot of dexterity and work in the hands, in the grippers, right, as we do this. If you're just holding a dowel rod and turning it, like, you'll get some wrist work and some dexterity in the hands, but there's no load to work against. Remember, we're trying to produce overload. So yes, I think that's a fine drill, but if you, a fine exercise to do on the regular, but I think you need the load attached to it. And that's a pretty simple, pretty quick, you don't even need weights. Like you can just get the dowel rod and then like tie a pair of shoes to it or I don't know, your water bottle. Like it doesn't need to be anything heavy, 2, 3, 4 pounds, maybe at the most. Do that a couple times, your forearms will be so swollen and pumped, and that's good. Do that a couple of times, a week, you'll be in good shape. Wrist curls, the second one. You basically just set your forearm down on a bench and you're holding a dumbbell, drop the weight, reel it up, drop the weight, reel it up. And you kind of drop it down to like the edge of your fingertips and then squeeze back up. My favorite is when you turn over and you work the extensors, and that's where I want to show you these. These are from Iron Mind. They're just a little bag of rubber bands, and they're a couple, $15, something like that. And they're color coordinated on intensities, and you put them around your fingers and open your hands up, and it works all the extensors on the back of your hand, the back of your wrist, all the way down your forearms. You can see all my muscles working there, right? And that's what you need to have a good, healthy grip strength, is not only crushing, but extending. Okay, these are our guys, these are our pro hand grippers. I love these guys, and we do have a little partnership with them. If you want to get one of these, do TTOA20. TTOA20. So TOA, us, with a T in front of it. TTOA20, and you get 20% off your purchases with these. We don't make commissions. We're just partners with them. So these guys, what I like most is that they have independent finger grips. Everybody see that? So if you're using one of the Iron Mind, like Captains of Crush, it's just 2 bars. So each one of my fingers, if one of them has trigger finger or one of them is just weaker than the others, it doesn't have to do any extra work. It can just close and return with the rest of the hand, which is fine if you want to have some just maximal grip strength testers. But as far as another training tool, like this is fantastic to where I want to just work those 2 fingers and then these 2 fingers and those 2 fingers and then these 2 fingers, or each one independently, right? Trying to hold this up and do each of these as I go. This is a much greater tool, in my opinion, for improving the dexterity strength of each phalange, each dancing phalange independently. All right, moving down. We are going to get into farmer carries. Yes, I love it. I've never been a huge fan of the word farmer walk. This is semantics. I know this is one of those little, like, you're such a bitch by saying this kind of thing. Me is when you walk, we lumber and we gait. Our gait is very like, hey, baby, what's up? Like we're walking, right? When you carry, you don't want any of that. We don't want any side to side. We don't want any up and down. We don't want any lumbering. Hey, babies, none of that. We want to hold that weight really tight, and you want to like glide. Like my best analogy is you're at the pool, you have to poop, and you're not allowed to run, right? So you're like, woo, and you're like skirtling along, right? That's that kind of tempo, like, woo, I gotta go. That's like quick little penguin walk, but no side to side. Be as still as you can, step, 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 really smooth, gliding. You're carrying 2 buckets of water filled to the brim, and you're just like, I gotta get there, but I gotta get there in a hurry, I gotta go. That's a farmer carry, not a farmer walk. Or else I would just hold those and lumber along, right? My regular walking gait, different things. So again, I know semantic, like just being a little picky, but there's a difference between walking and carrying, in my opinion. That's where my clients go, oh, okay, I'm not just supposed to waddle down the driveway. No. And then dead hangs. So I'll say this, like, yeah, this is one of the better testers and developers of grip strength. It's extremely difficult, and it can be super damaging if you do it wrong or if you're not strong enough to do it in the first place. So let's say this. My 70-year-old grandma is like, I need to improve my grip strength. Doctor says my grip is weak. She goes over to a pull-up bar, reaches up, grabs it, lifts her feet up off the ground. Tries to hang there for 30 seconds. Struggling. What do you think happens? More than likely, number one, she's going to tear a rotator cuff. She's going to tear something in her elbow, tear a bicep, rupture a tendon. This is such a difficult thing to go from 70 years of my life, I've never hung from anything ever, to 100% of my body weight dangling from a bar. I haven't trained for this one bit. And that's where I say, like, yes, I can pick up 10-pound, 5-pound dumbbells and do a farmer carry, and I can progress into this. The dead hangs, there's really not a ton of progression. I mean, you could put some bands on there. You could just kind of like slowly lower yourself down and have your tippy toes on the floor. Like, there's some in between, but you're either dead hanging or you're not, you know? And that's where it's like, I'm not a huge fan. I would rather them grab the TRX suspension straps, lean back and hold, and you can put markers on the floor. So we'll have like a 3-foot marker off the wall or off from the pull-up bar where the TRX hangs. And then we'll have 3 foot 3, 3 foot 6, 3 foot 9, 3 foot 12, and then 4 foot, etc. 3 foot 12, 4 foot, and then all the way back, right? So you could stand at 5 feet off the wall, lean back, and be like, okay, this is pretty easy. Let's go to 4 foot 9. Let's go to 4 foot 6. And you can slowly start to walk your way forward on these markers where, all right, I can do a muscular reclined row, hold for 30 seconds at the 4 foot line. And then try to train that up to where I could eventually do it from 3 foot 9 line for the exact same amount of time. And eventually you get to a point where you're inverted, where you're completely upside down. You're inverted, right? Top Gun, everybody remember? I'm inverted, communicating. So you're inverted. And once you get to that point and you can invertedly hang pretty well, then I think you could probably start to progress towards someone's where you're hanging vertically. I think you probably build enough strength and tension and like actin myosin engagement to where your muscles know what it's like to muscularly hang with a pretty good amount of your body weight against it, to where now if we go to vertical, we can handle that. So I know probably a lot of you are out there are like, just because she's older doesn't mean her body's going to blow apart. It does mean that. They're deconditioned. They can't do this. Very quick story. A client of mine was a very high level gymnast in high school, in middle school, high school, and into college. Very high level. Trained with men and women. She was, all around whatever you want to call it, she was really good. But also trained with the men a little bit where she could do the rings and she did the pommel horse and like played with that stuff enough to where she was good at it. So fast forward 50 something, 50 years old, 55 years old, whatever she was. They're down at Venice Beach and they're on a vacation. She has not trained, is not my client at this time. And she looks over and sees a pair of rings on the beach, okay? And she goes, ooh, I used to do those when I was in high school and college. So the family, all with her, come over and she goes, watch this. And she grabs onto the rings and she does a pull-up and gets back down and everybody goes, oh, and the whole crowd goes, she's telling the story. The crowd kind of gathers around her a little bit and they're like, wow, that was really impressive. And so she gets up there and she's hanging and she like brings her toes up and touches her toes to her hands and then back, and then they all, go again. Well, she starts going into all the stuff she used to be able to do where she kicks up inverted and holds, does the skin the cat thing where she goes backwards, brings her feet back through. Well, in the act of doing all this, stresses and tears ligaments in both of her shoulders so badly that she could not raise her arms over her head a day later and ended up in the hospital, number one, with rhabdomyalgia, 2 days after, but was so swollen and torn and damaged, that both shoulder joints were just demolished, completely destroyed. From holding her own body weight, moving up and around by doing inverted holds and hangs and moving about. Now, was she doing backflips and, kicking up and throwing and grabbing it? No, wasn't that kind of stuff. This was all just muscular stuff. It was cool to watch. It was neat. But as far as ring level kind of things go, it's kind of low level. But she hadn't done it in 30-something years, so it completely destroyed her joints. So badly, she required surgeries. And by the time she got to me, 2 years later, she tells me the story. And she's like, I just can't get my arms over my head. And we had to build her all the way back to the point where she could eventually do a chin-up, which I feel like was a big win. So kind of keep that in mind as you do these dead hangs. Like, this is pretty difficult. Start with dead muscular holds, dead muscular reclined row holds. Start with that before you just go straight to a bar and just go like, all right, here we go. Let's roll the dice, see how this one goes. Okay, in the last couple here, the paper pinch one, when I first heard this, I was like, that's kind of dumb. But then I saw the last line where it says, or the second to last line, add more sheets to then increase. And I went, oh, that's interesting. So not that I want you to waste paper, but if you were to just put your fingers on a sheet of paper and squeeze it, right? And then flatten it back out and then add another sheet and try to squeeze both of those and then add another sheet, both of those. The squeezing, I bet you'd get to like 4 or 5 sheets and you would just pick up the top 3 or 4. Like you wouldn't be able to grip all of them. That's where the challenge lies, I think, is kind of like squeezing, putting enough tension down into your grip to like slide your hands in there to pull all the sheets of paper. I think that could be pretty cool, a challenging way. I'd want to find a way to do that doesn't waste paper. And that would be replicable, like, I don't know, a bunch of really thin towels or something, I don't know, something like that. But the idea of something else filling up your hand while you do this, I think is a really great way to think about it. And then the plate pinch, I love the plate pinch. Let me grab this one more thing over here for you too. The plate pinch is awesome. You can grab, 4 or 5 2.5 pound plates and you kind of stack them up. We'll use coins for this too. We do a lot of coin work. You'll have a plate and a plate and a plate and a plate. Here, I'll show you with my remotes. So imagine like these are multiple plates and you're just gonna kind of pinch them, right? Pinch them like that, and then you gotta pick up and hold, and then you set them down. Pick it up and hold, and you set them down. And you just keep adding plates until your hands are so full of plate, that when you go to pick them up, they all just drop out. You can't squeeze them, okay? And you can do the same thing with coins. Get a whole bunch of pennies or quarters or whatever you want, and just start putting a bunch of pennies, like line them all up in between your pinky and your thumb. Try to pick them up. Then do your index finger, try to pick them up, then do ring finger and so on, and like just kind of keep working through that, pinching, 10 or 15 coins together and try to pick them up. Last piece, and this is a little bit of an investment, but Great Apes grips. This is a very good tool. I like this one a lot, especially for my clients that have any type of neuropathy or anything going on in their arthritic responses in their hands. There's a little glove in here, and it's fitted, right? You can see here, I'll pull it out a little bit. See how it's kind of fitted in, this little netting glove. And it's sewn into the bag, and then inside the bag is all the sand. Listen. Hear all that? That's the sand. You can see it poofing. Everybody just see it poof a little bit? So there's a ball in here too. See that? There's a little ball right there. I put that in the middle of my hand, and then I can kind of squeeze the sand and crush it up, crush it up, crush it up, crush it up, the rice, crush it up. And I just keep working that. You can do extensors in there. You can do crushes. You can manipulate the ball. You can do whatever you want on there. This little guy, and then when you're done and you pull your hand out, you're not all dirty and gross. We used to have a rice bucket in here, and we would get rice on the floor, and everybody's hands would be all filmy and itchy afterwards. This is a great resource, a great little tool there. I'll put the link for that one, along with all these other ones, inside the description. But I guess long story short is that doesn't make any sense. The overview of this whole thing, because I just talked for 35 minutes, it's not short. The whole point of this is, let's use grip strength as our barometer for our overall health. But I also want you to look at the finite component of that, of like, how is my actual hand health? Are my hands strong enough to crush and squeeze and get these levels that we want? Okay, yes or no? Do I have the dexterity in there to be able to coordinate movement patterns with all my fingers? Am I keeping that health? Are you getting arthritis in your fingers where you can't close them and grip them and coordinate them like you would like to? Are you experiencing neuropathy or numbing? Do you have carpal tunnel that's making your fingers go numb if you put your hands over your heart up towards your face? Are you experiencing those things? Are you having a trigger finger where one finger is stuck and caught in and you can see atrophy and death of musculature in your hand? Are you experiencing those things? The longer that you ignore or push off dealing with this, the worse it's going to get. These are not, I'll just kind of leave it be and my body will heal itself type issues. They're not. You have to address these things. And I would guesstimate that about a little less than any other injury with your hands, about 70% of the time, if you simply get them stronger, a lot of these issues will fix themselves. The other 30% is something that's damaged, something that needs to be either surgically repaired or medically addressed, I would say. So let's use this as like an overall snapshot. What is this what do we look like on paper when we squeeze, we get our scores? Here's some ideas. How long is our longevity? What risks are we at? But also, how is our hand health, our hand strength, our hand coordination? Because just as important as your feet are carrying you through life, our hands are basically manipulating everything that we're going to be doing. We don't want to get to a point where these don't work as well or as effectively as we can, and they don't match where you are emotionally. And my point being is, if you get arthritis so bad in your hands and you stop using your hands because they hurt all the time, the arthritis is just going to get worse and worse and worse, and eventually you get to a point where your hands are pretty useless and you're 65. So now what? Like, how do you live the rest of your life without being able to use your hands all that well? Cognitively, you're still there. Gait-wise, I can still walk around and go do stuff and do everything, but I can't hold on to anything. My hands are destroyed, right? So that's my point, is I don't want you to get to a point where either your foot health is so bad you can't move around anymore, your hand health is so bad you can't coordinate and do things anymore. All of this, motion is lotion, baby. Like, you gotta keep your body moving. You gotta keep it strong. And these are the messages that come out of these videos that I really want everybody to share it. Please send this on to other people so they can see, like, oh, it's something as simple as just squeezing my scale at home. I can squeeze the scale and see a score and then train for a little bit and come back. Oh man, I had a decline and I trained still. I've got an issue here. Something's wrong. Okay, these are things that are easily detectable, but easily addressed if you know what to do. And now we're educated on a little bit where you have some things you can work with. You've got some toys, you got some things that you can improve your grip health and strength with. But overall, you're also giving yourself a pretty good idea. Am I at greater risk for stroke? Am I at greater risk for cognitive decline? Am I at greater risk to have a heart issue, a heart attack? Am I, these are all key components to our longevity, to our quality of life, and to living as long as we can, as long as we want. I made a deal with my wife. If I want to be with her until we're 100 years old, that's our deal. And I'm 3.5 years older than her. I've got to make it to almost 104. I hope to be here and to deliver on that message and that promise. So I'm doing everything I can to live to be 104 years old. And these are key pieces to helping us do that. These little biomarkers, these predictors, if you will, of are we headed the right direction? It's simple, it's inexpensive, and it's something that gives us quite a bit of feedback. All right. Comments, questions, you hit me up in the comment section below. Please subscribe if this is your first time watching the video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, join our community. Make sure you hit the like button and hit all that good stuff. Ring the bell so you don't miss any information. We put up at least one new video every week, and if not more. And our overall goal is to help you combat the battles that we would experience with our body losing muscle strength and function, which is known as sarcopenia. So until next time, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Please share these videos. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the help and support, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.